The contractor's face when he realized who I was is something I'll never forget. That perfect moment when recognition dawned in his eyes, priceless. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where it all began. I'm not the kind of guy who looks for trouble. For 15 years, I built a good life with my wife Sarah. We had our dream home in the suburbs, solid careers, and what I thought was rock-solid trust. I'm an accountant, methodical, detail-oriented, and painfully observant when it matters. Those skills would eventually become my greatest weapons. The first sign something was off came from our joint account, small withdrawals at first, nothing alarming, then larger ones, always with vague explanations. House stuff, she'd say, or just some things we needed. Being busy with a major client audit, I didn't press the issue immediately. Big mistake. Then came the late nights. The sudden interest in girls' nights out that never seemed to include her actual girlfriends, the text messages she'd hide when I walked into the room, classic signs, I know now, but love has a way of blinding you to the obvious. It was a random Tuesday when I decided to come home early, fighting a migraine that had been building all day. I turned onto our street just in time to see a white pickup truck with Miller Construction painted on the side pulling out of our driveway. Odd, since we weren't having any work done on the house. Sarah was in the shower when I got inside. Her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I'd never been the type to snoop, but something felt wrong. The message preview from Mike M. Reed. Miss, you all ready? Can't wait until next. My hands trembled as I unlocked her phone with a birthday code she'd never bothered to change. Hundreds of messages between her and Mike Miller, owner of Miller Construction, pictures, plans, declarations of love. And worse, screenshots of bank transfers. My money, our money, funding their little romance, nearly $40,000. Over 6 months, I felt physically ill, but instead of confrontation, something inside me went cold and calculating. I put her phone back exactly as I'd found it. When she emerged from the shower, I pretended my migraine had worsened and went straight to bed. That night, as she slept beside me, I began formulating my plan. The research phase was crucial. I learned everything about Mike Miller, his business history, financial status, reputation in town. Miller Construction was a small operation, just him and part-time workers. He was good at what he did, but perpetually cash-strapped, taking on too many projects simultaneously. His reviews showed a pattern. Initial charm followed by deadline issues and budget overruns. Most importantly, I confirmed he had no idea who I was. Sarah had been careful never to mention my name or show photos of us together. To him, I was just an abstract obstacle, a faceless husband who worked long hours. This was my advantage. I created a new email address under the name Alexander Jensen and reached out to request a quote for a significant home renovation project. I used a Google Voice number he wouldn't recognize. Our initial phone call confirmed my suspicion. He had no clue he was speaking to his lover's husband. "I've heard great things about your work, Mr. Miller," I said, my voice disguised slightly by the intentional poor connection. "I'm looking for someone who can handle a complex project with very specific requirements." He took the bait immediately. Business had been slow, and the prospect of a major project had him practically salivating. We arranged to meet at a coffee shop across town to discuss details. For our meeting, I wore glasses I didn't need, styled my hair differently, and added a fake beard that looked surprisingly natural. Sarah had always described me to him as clean-shaven with short hair. The transformation was remarkable. Even colleagues might have passed me by. "The project is extensive," I explained, sliding a folder of architectural drawings across the table. "Complete kitchen remodel, master bath expansion, new hardwood flooring throughout, custom built-ins for the living room, and a deck expansion." His eyes widened at the scope. "This is substantial work. Budget won't be an issue," I assured him, "but timeline is crucial. We need completion in 8 weeks. 8 weeks. For all this, he seemed hesitant but unwilling to turn down the opportunity. That's pushing it, but I think we can make it work. Excellent. I've had disappointing experiences with contractors before, so I'll need detailed daily progress reports and photos, and I have very specific materials in mind. I presented him with a list of hard-to-source, expensive items that would require significant advance deposits. We signed a contract the following week. The deposit I provided was substantial, $45,000, slightly more than what he and Sarah had stolen from our joint account. I made it clear that the agreement included significant penalties for missed deadlines or specification deviations. The destruction phase of my plan was now underway. Mike immediately ordered all the specialized materials, committed to other projects to clear his schedule, and hired additional help. What he didn't know was that my impossible timeline and exacting standards were designed specifically to make him fail. Every other day, I'd call with a change or clarification that would require rework. Actually, I was thinking the kitchen island should be 2 inches wider than in the plans. The bathroom tiles should be herringbone pattern, not straight lay as we discussed. Each change meant wasted materials and lost time. Meanwhile, I continued living with Sarah as if nothing had changed. I even mentioned casually that I was considering a home renovation someday. Watching her face for any reaction, there was none. She continued her pattern of late nights and secret messages, unaware that her lover was being financially and professionally drained by her own husband. By week 4, Mike was clearly struggling. His other projects were suffering from neglect. The specialized materials had eaten through his cash reserves. His frantic calls to Alexander became more frequent, always met with polite but firm reminders of our contract terms. I really need an extension on the timeline, he pleaded during one call. Some of these materials are backordered for months. That won't work for me, Mike, I replied coolly. Perhaps you should have verified availability before committing. The penalty clauses are quite clear. By week 6, he was in serious trouble. 2 of his workers had quit due to the impossible demands. He'd maxed out business credit lines to cover materials that now sat unused due to my constant reconsiderations. His regular clients were leaving negative reviews online about missed appointments. It was time for the end game. I texted Sarah from my regular phone, working late tonight, don't wait up. Then I called Mike as Alexander, requesting an urgent evening meeting at the house where work was supposedly happening, an address I'd given as a vacant property owned by a traveling friend. When he arrived, visibly exhausted and desperate, I was sitting calmly in a folding chair in the empty living room, my disguise removed. "Hello, Mike," I said in my normal voice. "You seem surprised." The color drained from his face as recognition slowly dawned. "You single quotes double quote Sarah's husband, yes. The one whose money you've been spending. The one whose wife you've been sleeping with while cashing my checks." His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. "Here's how this ends," I continued, maintaining perfect composure. "Our contract is ironclad. I had it reviewed by 3 separate attorneys before you signed. You've missed multiple deadlines, failed to provide required materials, and deviated from specifications. The penalty clauses amount to approximately $65,000. I stood and handed him a folder. Inside, you'll find documentation of every penny you and Sarah took from our joint account. You'll also find evidence of your affair, including hotel receipts, messages, and photographs. You have 2 options: pay the contractual penalties in full by the end of the month, or I take this all to court, where I'll also name you in the divorce proceedings and file a separate civil suit for the stolen funds." He collapsed into a chair, the folder shaking in his hands. "I don't have that kind of money. The materials alone. This project has nearly bankrupted me." "Not my problem," I replied. "Perhaps Sarah can help, though I doubt it, since as of this morning, her access to our accounts has been terminated. Oh, and I've already informed your wife about the affair. She was quite appreciative of the evidence." I left him sitting there, staring blankly at the documentation of his own destruction. The next day, Sarah came home to find her belongings, packed and divorce papers on the kitchen table, alongside printouts of her text messages with Mike. How double quotes she began, but I cut her off. Miller Construction. Interesting choice for home renovation. Though I don't believe bedroom activities were included in his standard service package, she moved out that evening. The divorce proceedings were surprisingly straightforward. Faced with irrefutable evidence of her infidelity and financial misconduct, she had little ground to contest anything. Mike's business collapsed within 2 months. The combination of overextended credit, abandoned projects, and a rapidly spreading reputation for unreliability proved fatal. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he had to sell his house and move in with his parents in another state. The final act came 3 months later. I arranged for Sarah's divorce papers to be served during Mike's bankruptcy hearing, a little theatrical touch that brought me more satisfaction than I care to admit. People often talk about revenge being a dish best served cold. I prefer to think of it as a construction project, careful planning, proper materials, and meticulous attention to detail. My wife and her lover built their affair on a foundation of lies and stolen money. I simply ensured that foundation couldn't withstand the weight of truth. Sometimes the best revenge is built from the ground up. I've moved on now. The house that was meant to be renovated actually did get a makeover eventually, just with a different contractor and a different purpose. I turned it into a rental property that generates nice passive income every month when those rent checks come in. I'm reminded that patience and planning will always overcome passion and poor judgment. As for Sarah and Mike, last I heard, they weren't together anymore. Turns out relationships built on betrayal don't tend to survive hardship. Who would have thought? The strangest part of all this. I'm actually grateful it happened. It taught me to trust my instincts, to value myself enough not to accept betrayal, and that my analytical mind could be weaponized when necessary. Most importantly, it showed me that sometimes life's worst moments lead to unexpected opportunities if you're willing to tear down and rebuild. But whenever I think back to that moment in the empty house, the look on Mike's face when he realized exactly who Alexander Jensen was, I still can't help but smile. In that single moment, every late night of planning, every careful deception, every dollar spent was absolutely worth it. Some might call it petty. Others might say I should have just confronted them immediately and moved on, but anyone who's ever been betrayed by the two people they should have been able to trust knows that sometimes justice needs a helping hand, and sometimes that helping hand holds a contractor's clipboard.